Rate him 2-1 to miss him. Thomas was one of them, and he held that against Thomas. Also, in this campaign, Thomas was waiting on troops to come up, like A.J. Smith's Ishmaelite Corps and the Department of the Etowah, James Stedman, and they're going to come out to meet him out here, past Franklin, and then Brentwood, and Schofield said he left my little army out to dry and stuff. We'll touch more on that tomorrow at Nashville, but I will go on and state this. Who's second in command at Nashville? Schofield.
Yeah.
The Judas. They didn't call him that for no reason, for not any reason at all. I'm not giving my opinion, is that somebody was wiring Richmond about Thomas won't attack. And they checked on it. Guess who sent it? It's Schofield. And he might have had an aide to do that for him, but yeah, Stedman sent an officer to find out. And Thomas couldn't believe it. And finally said, who's second in command? Oh, now I understand. He was right, and Thomas, at the end of his life, they were putting things in the newspaper, and it was from Schofield, and Thomas was there writing a reply to it. He died of a heart attack, or some say stroke, and then he died 2 days later. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Look behind you. This is what they call the Cavalier, and that's not Jeb Stewart. That's the fort within the fort. That's what they're worried from attack from behind, not up these bluffs. So this is what they would fall back to if they were being attacked. There was a 4-gun battery in here, 3-inch ordnance rifles. Does anyone not know what that means? How many of you know what those are?
Yay!
They spot like a long cannonball. They're the most accurate cannon of the war. They were slowed on impact. At a 5-degree elevation, they could hit the top of a flour barrel out at 1,830 yards. 10-degree elevation farther, not about 2,200 yards, not as accurate. 15-degree elevation, about 2,600 yards, not as accurate. But that's what you want at long range. That's what the Bishop Polk had through his chest at Pine Mountain, was a 3-inch, a Hotchkiss shell. That's what it was. It tore out his heart and lungs. And this has nothing to do with this, but the Confederates at Pine Mountain put a note on a tree that said, "You killed our General Polk, you Yankee SOBs." And when the Federals were coming by there and they knew he'd been killed, there was hair still on the ground and blood and bones. And some were taking the bones for souvenirs and dipping their handkerchiefs in the blood too. And but these are the guns that were hitting on Lawrence Division as they're going through those fields around Carrington. They found Hotchkiss shells there as well. We'll be on that side tomorrow, but these guns are hitting there, as well as the 14th Indiana battery was right outside the fort, which I think is right over there. Camps were all on the outside of the fort as well. With those flags, you could flag from here all the way to Murfreesboro, not at one deal, different points. They see it, send it on, send it on. Also, you can flag all the way to Nashville at different points, all the way to Nashville there as well. And that's a big thing about those flags. The Federals' Atlanta campaign broke the code the Confederates were using. They knew what they were doing to break the code as well. And again, Schofield's headquarters here as well, because he's worried about them flanking to the east. And I really want to take you to Ford's Crossing, but that's another story. We'll think about that a little bit later. So on that note, when we were walking along these trenches, did you see the little gaps? That's where the cannons were. You see the gaps here? That's where the cannons were as well. Over in that area across from there, that was the sick area. Over there on the other side is the Cavalier, the last stand of the fort, within the fort. You'll see the water tower. See the water tower there? When we get up on Winstead Hill, you'll be able to see that water tower in the distance. And right below that, of course, is Fort Granger. Very important, modern, but still important to know where the fort is when you're up there as well. So let's about face, or whatever face, and let's walk that way to the middle of the fort, right over there. Good question. Hold on. There's the courthouse right there. The courthouse is just right down there. Train depot. Cartwright would be about right over there. Right over there. right here was the powder magazine that held 1,200 rounds, of course dug deep down into the earth and lined with bricks as well as beams and such. They held 1,200 rounds of ammunition in this powder magazine right on this rise right here. Also, they had a cistern that would hold 9,000 gallons of water and 70,000 rations. That's close to it. And it's what they still think there's a lot of shells way down into the powder. That's right. And the bricks, there's a school called Harper Academy. They tore that down and used the bricks to line that powder magazine as well. And these guns fired on Forest coming up Louisville Pike on April 10th, 1863. Fort just been completed. And of course these guns during the Battle of Franklin, this one battery inside that Cavalier fired 166 rounds. 166 rounds. And it's called modern military bracketing, getting the range. Pow, pow, pow! But that's what they're doing without the terminology. One went behind Lawrence. We'll go over there tomorrow. And one went in front, and then pow! Whole lines have dropped down. Captain James Powell, 33rd Mississippi, has head decapitated from a shell fragment. And these things will explode on impact as well. That's long range, long range. I'm going to show you the railroad cut, that hill where they had Napoleon's end 3-inch up there tomorrow, as well, Berry Circle. That's where we're going to go to. Ooh, it's going to be interesting with the bus. Oh well, whatever. We'll get close to it where we can see it nonetheless. And this is a treasure. You're not going to see a lot of trenches in Franklin. If they are, they're real small. You know, they've been whatever eroded. But this is a crown jewel here. Now, I know people, older folks in Franklin, they will not come up here, still won't come up here. And I said, well, Miss Blank, I said, have you ever been to Fort Granger? No, and I'm never going up there. Well, why? Well, that's a Yankee fort. We didn't want it then. We didn't ask for it. We don't want it now. I said, well, ma'am, it is an artifact. It's sort of similar. I said, I don't care. Okay. Roper, where that water tower is, we'll see it better up there on Winston Hill. Roper's Knob is that hill to the right. That was a signal post. I've climbed up there. There are names of federal soldiers up there with dates all on the limestone. The moss grows over it. You pull that moss away. Yeah, November 28, 1863. And it's just fabulous up there in deep trenches. I went up there as a little boy and as an adult too. And so you can see how POW signal on down all the way to Nashville, or I know where the thing was on Murfreesboro Road, but then all the way to Murfreesboro as well. And just a gem. I wanted to take you here, especially if the weather's bad tomorrow and such. Are there any questions of any kind?
Is there any brick left under here?
Not that I know of. I'm sure there are. But I remember just until the last few years, you could find pieces of bricks or whole bricks in that trenches where we were walking, and just strung out down there. So I'm sure there are. I know there are. And many claim there are still artillery shells way down deep in here. Now, by the time the Battle of Franklin was being fought, there wasn't 5,000 cavalry infantry inside this fort, and 2,700 and some odd. It was lightly held, but there was a battery here. 14th Indiana was outside the fort, and Wood's division was at the base, just as reserves had to be shifted and whatever, you know. But that's why Granger's here. His flanks were wide open, and he was right, wide open. Would you like to take 10 minutes just to walk around and walk in that area, the sick area and such, and then we'll meet back up on the bus in 10 minutes?
Okay.
The time is 3:09, so 3:20, 11 minutes. How about that?
I don't know how you do it.
No.
That's the first thing you do when you fall. You look right and you saw you.
I saved you the embarrassment.
Well,
He felt it was too late. And I'm going to say that wrong for us twice. I said, I can do this. I'm strong in these areas in my category. And he thought it was too late today. But I don't think life would be the problem as far as knew this area. He pursued the Bryce's Crossroads for 48 hours. You know, am I biased? Yes. No doubt about it. My great grandfather was with him as an escort, one of his escorts. And there's no doubt about it. But taking that aside, obviously hindsight is better than what happened. And good to his credit, on the retreat out here, he listened to us. He let him you've been there, haven't you?
Did we do that on the coast?
No. Because of the bus. But I'm going to walk the park that's in there.
Sure, where's the hanging tree?
It's on Liberty. I'm
We're
sorry.
not in the fort.
It's not in the fort.
Oh, we thought we played.
A few years ago, it was still standing on the dead. They're buried it back at the Tudor plantation up in Arlington. And they were buried here in Franklin. They covered the bodies after the war. And there's a photograph of both of them together. And it's very hard. That's a glass, and I'm not kidding. There's a glassy look on William's eyes that there's something going on. The hangover, did he have a sit? I don't know, but there's a glassy look that's on.
So the picture was taken before the hanging?
Oh, definitely even before. They were in Confederate uniform. They were whenever it was, 62 or whatever.
So you think there was spies?
No, I think they were on a mission.
To be spies?
Well, they're in the enemy's uniform. That's not a good thing.
Right.
And,
That's
they swore they were not spies. Taking them at their word for a second. Maybe they're going to go up into Canada. Maybe they're on some kind of mission. Now what? I don't know. They're not on a fool's walk up here just to ride around, act like idiots. No.
Don't go.
And where do they get the federal uniforms?
You'll walk maybe
And so,
60 yards or so.
even though they said they weren't spies, well, so it looks like they are to me. Too. So,
You think maybe a night on the town in Nashville? A night on the town in Nashville?
Yeah.
Would they have gone to that measure?
okay, he's not commander of brigade at Tullahoma. So, do they just leave their army and come on up here? Let's go get drunk in Nashville in Smoky Row. I'll tell you about that tomorrow. Smoky Row. Long story there. There wasn't where the churches were. Yeah.
Well, my understanding, because one of my ancestors got put in he was deemed to be a deserter because he was caught around his home territory, not with his army, and he didn't have papers. And if you didn't have your papers, then you were a deserter. Or if these guys maybe didn't have papers designating that they were on a mission, then
Well, you got any, even today, if you're in any army and you're wearing the enemy's uniforms, you're probably going to get executed.
And that's what
Sure.
Sam Davis?
No, he wasn't in the enemy's
was not in the
uniform,
enemy's
but he did have an overcoat that they had dyed. It was a Yankee overcoat, but they had dyed it black, and they did that. Well, he was not in enemy's uniforms, but these men were, and that's the end of them. And so that's another story right there.
I mean, what else could you think?
yeah.
You capture a